نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Alhamdulillah, another Jummah is upon us, and indeed it is a very blessed day. We tend to become habitual about Jummah. It comes every week, and it's important for us to remind ourselves of all the virtues and blessings that this day brings to us. And inshallah, the more we internalize the importance of Jummah, the more eager we will become in performing the fard prayer as well as the nawafil, the volunteer acts of worship that are prescribed or encouraged for this day. So let me begin by sharing a glad tiding about Jum'ah with you as it comes in a narration. Abu Hurairah narrates in Sahih Muslim. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, الصلاة الخمس والجمعة إلى الجمعة كفارة لما بينهن ما لم تغش الكبائر. So 5 prayers, and from one Friday prayer to the next Friday prayer is an expiation, a forgiveness of the sins committed in between this interval, as long as no major sin is committed. So subhanAllah, what a great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for offering the 5 daily prayer plus the Jummah. And inshallah, all the minor sins are forgiven between the 2 Jummahs. And again, if you're perpetual in this habit, if you're making sure that you're offering the 5 daily prayers, you're offering your Jummah Salah every week, that inshallah you will get this reward. All the sins, the mistakes that happen by us, like on a daily basis, inshallah will be forgiven. And if you think for a moment, isn't this a unique blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the 5 daily prayers are obligated upon us. So even if there was no additional reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set forward, we had to perform these prayers, including the Jum'ah. And yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has offered additional reward. And think about the relationship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His abd, with all of us, compared to what you see in our workplace, in our job environment, where, of course, you are expected to do certain tasks. And as long as you fulfill your duties on a daily basis, you get your basic salary. But there is no employee who has this expectation of a bonus, of even a small gift card that they will receive if they just perform the basic duties of their job. And yet here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps showering us with mercy, with blessings, with virtues, and with opportunities that are above and beyond our imagination, only by us performing what is already obligated upon us. SubhanAllah, that is the true mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam, for the blessing of Islam, and indeed the blessing of Iman, the fact that we are Muslims, is one of the greatest blessings upon us. There's a very beautiful dua that we should make every morning and every evening, and inshallah it will reaffirm our connection, our association with the deen of Islam. أصبحنا على فطرة الإسلام وكلمة الإخلاص وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. That you're declaring every day, in the morning, in the evening. If you read in the evening, you will say, Amsayna ala fitrat al-Islam. So we have reached the morning or the evening following the natural religion of Islam and the assertion of God's unity, the oneness, and the religion of Prophet ﷺ, and the faith of our father Ibrahim, who was upright and not a mushrik. Ameen. So today, inshallah, we will continue with our discussion on the tafsir of Surah Mulk. We covered the 5 first verses, and now we'll continue from verse number 6 onwards. And just to recap in 2 sentences how the surah started, it started with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Tabarak alladhi biyadil mulk, and then it mentioned the perfect creation Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in the 7 heavens, and also there was a mention of the purpose of stars, why they are created. So now we move on to the next few set of verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 2 groups of people. One group that goes to Jahannam and the other group that goes to Jannah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. And for those who disbelieved in their Lord is the punishment of hell, and worse indeed is that destination. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the final abode of disbelievers, those who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be the worst destination. And why is that a worst destination? So the surah goes on to describe the situation of hellfire. إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَهِيَ تَفُورُ. When they are thrown into it, when the disbelievers are thrown into it, they hear from it a dreadful inhaling sound while it boils up. So Jahannam is a place of extreme temperatures. Imagine you put your hand, you light up a candle and put your hand on top. You cannot maintain that for more than a few minutes. Or similar, think about the boiling water in your kettle. Who can imagine that water gets, thrown over your, or get poured over your skin? Cannot tolerate that. Human body cannot tolerate that. Or think about, the iron that you use to press your clothes on a daily basis. From time again, if it touches part of your skin, the burning sensation remains for many, many days. Even though the iron touched for a slight moment, what happened. You cannot bear that if the burning sensation remains for many days. So how can we think about the fire of Jahannam? How can we bear that fire? And just to make sure that we understand the magnitude of difference between the fire or the heat in this world to the hereafter, we refer to a narration that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned this explicitly, as narrated by Abu Hurairah in Sahih Muslim. نَارُكُمْ هَذِهِ الَّتِي يُوقِدُ ابْنُ آدَمَ جُزْءٌ مِّن سَبْعِينَ جُزْءً مِّن حَرِّ جَهَنَّمَ. So the fire that we burn, that we use, the son of Adam, is only 1/70th of the fire of hellfire. Allahu Akbar. So think about this. Whatever we look at extreme fire, think of furnace fire. Think of, have you ever gone to a steel mill? You will see the burning molten fire, the volcano fire. All of those heat that you can imagine, the fire of Jahannam is 70 times more than that. 70 times more. So we talk about the heat of a candle, boiling water, iron touching, and all the extreme heats. 70 times more is the fire of Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. We cannot bear that heat, that temperature, that adhab at all. And then you reflect upon our own situation, where you hear sometimes people mentioning, it's okay, brother, I'm doing something wrong, but inshallah I'll ask for forgiveness. Even our own selves, we are making excuses to our own self. When we are doing something out of our desires, we think, we'll just ask for forgiveness. And then there is this clever deception from shaitan, which is, as Muslim, as long as you say La ilaha illallah, you will get to paradise eventually anyway, so it's okay. Commit your sin, you will get there. You will bear the heat, you will bear the Jahannam for a little bit, you will go on. Subhanallah, nothing can be more far from the deception that we hear in this type of thinking, which is, wow, how can you justify your action and assume that you can bear this heat? So next time these type of waswasa are coming into your mind, into your heart, you have to remind yourself the heat of Jahannam is not something that we can bear. It is beyond our capability to bear that type of heat. So coming back to the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues with the description of Jahannam. تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ كُلَّمَا أُلْقِيَ فِيهَا فَوْجٌ سَأَلَهُمْ خَزَنَتُهَا أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ نَذِيرٌ. So the Jahannam, it almost bursts with rage. That's how much hot it is. That's how much warm it is. That's how crazy the temperatures are, that it's almost about to burst. And every time someone is thrown into it, the keepers of Jahannam will ask, did there not come to you a warner? That's what the guards of Jahannam will ask. Was there not a warner that came to you? So Jahannam is a place of raging fire, and it has 19 guards upon it, as we know in Surah Mudaththir. Alayha tis'ata ashar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it has 19 guards upon it. So those guards will ask people when they are thrown into Jahannam, Was there someone that came to you that told you about Jahannam, that if you do your, if you do not believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you commit sins, that's the outcome? Were you not aware of that? So what will those disbelievers say? قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. So they will say, yes, a warner had come to us, but we denied. We denied and said, Allah has not sent down anything. You are not but in great error. So they denied the messenger. They said, you know what, you are in error. There's no such revelation that comes to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. He established justice in all parts of, I would say, ultimately He will do justice. In this world, we see a lot of injustice, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. He will establish justice. That's why there's this idea of Day of Judgment, that there will be a day when justice will be held. Today, we don't see that around us. So He does not punish anyone without warning. It is unfair. You don't set the rules, and then when someone disobeys, you punish them. That's illogical. Doesn't make sense. So how would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punish someone if He has not told us what is the right way of doing things, what is the wrong way of doing things? So that's why He sent down messengers upon messengers, and until us, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came. And we learn about that in Surah Isra also. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. And we never punish until we have sent a messenger to give warning. So a question may come to your mind. And again, I keep emphasizing, when you read Quran, you have to think about how it's talking to you. You have to reflect upon it. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about what the people of Jahannam will say. And similarly, when you come across the ayahs of Quran, you have to see how it applies to you. So a question should come to your mind. All the previous nations got a messenger that warned them. And we got Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in our ummah. But he's not among us anymore. So someone could argue, well, why would I be punished if I do not have a messenger among us? So what should be our response to that type of thinking, that type of question? It's a fair question. It's a fair question. But we have to think about a few things. We have Quran with us, which has been protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the message that is true to its original form, compared to all the other heavenly books that have been tampered with, are not in their original state, but Quran is in its original state. So that to us is a reference, a book of reference that we can always refer back to and understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And then we have the Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, recorded in authentic books, and of course scrutinized and refined over the many, many years, hundreds of years. So now we have a reference point of how to live the life according to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we have ulama, who are the inheritors of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in terms of knowledge, in terms of the responsibility of the knowledge of deen. So we have our ulama who advise us of what's right and what's wrong. So there are, is still among us people who could remind us what is right, what's wrong by continuing the message. So we have, an indirect messenger, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us are actually that indirect messenger. So after Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is no other prophet, but we all are carrying the message of Islam. So there is no excuse. Bottom line is, there's no excuse for us also to commit sins and claim that we did not know what was right, what was wrong. So now, going back to the surah, so the guards asked, was there not a warning that came to you? What did people of Jahannam say? Or what will they say? وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسُحْقًا لِأَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. And they will say, if only we had been listening or reasoning, we would not be among the companions of the blazing fire. So if we had listened to the messenger, we would not be in this situation. And they will admit of their sin. So away with the dwellers of the blazing fire. So the people of Jahannam will regret. And, regret is good in this world, but not in the hereafter. I think we have to keep in mind there's a limit to how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that opportunity. It is until the last breath or the signs of death have appeared That's how much time we have, which subhanAllah, on a daily basis, you wake up, you should really think about Allah, the blessing you got for one more day where you can ask for repentance for all the sins you've done. I go back to what I started with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, as it comes in the narration of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that whoever performs the 5 daily prayer and then the Jum'ah, all the minor sins are forgiven. So you have that opportunity of performing your obligations and you get the reward, plus ask for forgiveness of any sins you've made in that time. And inshallah, you will be forgiven. There's no limit to the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how much you have sinned. So we talked about the people of Jahannam. Let's switch and finish off today with that last verse for today, which is about the people of paradise. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَبِيرٌ. Verily those who fear their Lord unseen, theirs will be forgiveness and a great reward. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who will be entered into paradise without any accountability. Ameen. So these are the people who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all their lives that they spent on this earth. Any day they committed a sin, they made sure they asked for forgiveness right away. Inshallah, at some other point, we'll talk about the people of paradise in a more detail. But I want to close today's khutbah with a beautiful hadith. And I think it's something that summarizes how we should view this world, how we should live in this world. And it should really encourage us to change our behavior, the way we live every single day. It's a narration in Ibn Majah. Anas bin Malik narrates it. I'll go to the English. The Arabic is beautiful, by the way. I encourage people to read it over. But what will happen? It's mentioning on the day of judgment the case of a believer and the case of a disbeliever. So on the day of resurrection, the disbeliever who lived the most luxurious life will be brought. So imagine, the king of this world with all the fortune, the president of any country in this world, the most rich person in this world will be brought. And it will be said, but he happens to be a disbeliever, dip him once in hell. Dip this person once in hell. So he will be dipped. Then it will be said to him, oh, so and so, have you ever enjoyed any pleasure? Have you ever enjoyed any pleasure? So now you're in the hereafter, you spent your entire life in luxury. Have you had any experience of a pleasure before this moment, now that you've dipped in hellfire? What will he say? No, I have never experienced or enjoyed any pleasure. That one dip, let alone living forever in hellfire, is enough for the person to forget all the pleasures of this life. Allahu Akbar. Think about the magnitude we're talking about here. Eternity and a single dip that lets a person forget all the pleasures of this life. And let's switch to what will happen to a believer. Then a believer who suffered the most hardship. Imagine the poorest person, tortured, did not have enough money to meet his ends on a daily basis, suffered the entire life, could be in war zone for the entire life, have lost family. Think about the worst person, but a believer in this world. What will happen? This person will be brought and will be said, dip him once in paradise. Dip this person once in paradise. So he will be dipped in it. And will be said to him, oh, so and so, have you suffered any hardship or trouble? Have you suffered anything? He will say, I have never suffered any hardship or trouble. Subhanallah. What an experience it would be to be in paradise. So whenever we are going through hardships in this life and they are overwhelming to us, the thought should come to our mind, cling on to your belief, because that is the path that will take you to this end game, which is paradise. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us steadfast on the straight path, to make us among those who will enter paradise and save us from experiencing even a moment of time in hellfire. Allahumma nas'aluka al-jannah wa najata min nar. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu.